put together a training camp and come in, and I don't like to see guys fighting it. Be a 31-year age difference during that fight. Just you guys know what I think of that stuff.
Dana White has finally spoken, and his words cut deeper than any punch ever thrown in the ring. You could see it, disappointment etched across his face, fury blazing in his eyes.
He gets mad when I do this, but Mike's 60, man. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Who gives a shit what I think? It's not my fight. I love Mike Tyson, personally as a friend, and he's one of my favorite athletes of all time.
Why? Because he just watched boxing's reputation get trashed by none other than a living legend and a self-proclaimed problem child. That's right. Mike Tyson and Jake Paul didn't just embarrass themselves. They set fire to the integrity of an entire sport. To destroy something legendary, it only takes two forces working in opposite directions, and Tyson and Jake proved they were up to the task.
I mean, all the people that are, there's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
All those hype-filled training videos, all that trash talk and fake threats, turns out it was just as fake as the fight itself. Hollow, pre-rehearsed, and a slap in the face to every fan who dared to believe in them. How are we, the fans, ever supposed to trust a boxing match again?
I always thought that Netflix was crazy not to get into live sports sooner than they did. Those guys truly have a global footprint. I think they're late to the game, but it was a big success.
The performance of the broadcast, did that give you pause to do business with Netflix at all?
I didn't think the event was a great event, but they needed to do that. They knew Mike Tyson was going to...
A leaked footage has emerged showing Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, yes, that Mike Tyson, the boxing legend, and Jake Paul, the loudest YouTuber to ever lace up gloves, allegedly rehearsing for his scripted fight. Not sparring, not strategizing. Straight up practicing like they're auditioning for some community theater production called How to Scam Your Fans in 10 Rounds or Less. And let's talk about betrayal, shall we? Fans didn't pay to see a dress rehearsal. They paid handsomely, by the way, for what they thought was a genuine clash of skill and legacy. Instead, they got what now looks like a pre-planned choreography routine. This wasn't boxing. It was boxing cosplay. And the fans, the people who bought tickets, pay-per-view streams, and overpriced merch, they've been played.
And it was a bit of a shit show, but, what did you expect? Seriously, when you stayed home and you turned on Netflix that night, we were like, holy f***, I'm about to see the greatest live sporting event of all time.
Let's not pretend this disaster didn't come with a hefty payday. Tyson reportedly cashed in a cool $20 million for this so-called fight. Jake Paul, somewhere between the $40 million. Millions, folks, for what exactly? A performance that would make pro wrestling blush with embarrassment.
There's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
And Dana White, the UFC boss, took one look at this mess and decided to torch it from orbit. White called it a circus act, which frankly is an insult to circuses. At least clowns are upfront about what they're doing. This was a spit in the face of every real fighter who's ever bled, broken bones, or risked it all for their sport. White wasn't just mad, he was livid, calling out the entire spectacle as a stain on the already struggling reputation of boxing.
My biggest problem with the Jake Paul thing is, and how this plays out, is when he actually fought somebody who was a boxer, who had the same type of record he has, who is his age,
Tommy,
and who is his size, he lost.
And yes, an actual fight script leaked online before the event. The details weren't vague either. It spelled out every move like some bizarre screenplay. Tyson's aggressive opening, scripted. Jake Paul's cautious strategy, scripted. The fifth-round drama where someone almost gets knocked out, completely scripted. When the fight happened, it played out so perfectly to the leak blueprint that it felt like watching a spoiler-filled trailer for a movie you didn't even want to see.
Well, X has spoken. The fight was scripted. Everyone is talking about this on X, and the script was actually leaked on X a few days ago.
The fight itself? A joke. Tyson, who once struck fear into the hearts of opponents, looked like he was going through the motions. Sure, his bob and weave was there, but the intensity, the fire, gone, and Jake Paul? His movements mirrored the script so precisely it was almost painful to watch. Fans didn't witness boxing. They watched a sad parody of it, wrapped in glitz and hype. It wasn't a fight, it was a live-action scam. And guess what? People paid millions to see it.
Opening bell rings, Tyson is showing flashes of his old form, which actually happened. As soon as the bell went, Mike Tyson came out with that head movement, pushing forward. Immediately he stalks forward with his signature bob and weave style.
Dana White wasn't done dragging this travesty either. He didn't just call it a joke. He slammed Jake Paul's entire career. White pointed out the obvious. Paul keeps picking fights with guys who are either way past their prime or have no business in a boxing ring. It's like Paul's personal matchmaking strategy is to find the oldest, slowest opponents and then act surprised when he wins. White's frustration boiled over as he called out Paul's unwillingness to face real fighters, the ones who've spent their lives mastering the sport.
Under any circumstances, almost 60-year-old man shouldn't be fighting a 27-year-old guy, even if it's Mike Tyson. So my biggest problem with the Jake Paul thing is, and how this plays out, is when he actually fought somebody who was a boxer, who had the same type of record he has, who was his age,
Tommy,
and who was his size, he lost.
Every jab, every dodge, every dramatic moment of the fight completely choreographed, like it was some second-rate drama. Imagine being Dana White running the UFC, where fighters sacrifice everything for a shot at glory, only to see Jake Paul and Mike Tyson pull off this embarrassment. White didn't sugarcoat it. This wasn't boxing. It was theater, and bad theater at that.
I mean, all the people that are, there's a lot of, in Portnoy went out and said that it was the greatest con job of all time.
And Jake Paul, let's just say Dana had the thoughts. He roasted Paul for dodging real opponents and instead cherry-picking legends way past their expiration date. He basically shouted, exposing Paul's whole shtick as a calculated scam to pad his ego without taking real risks.
What do I think of the Mike Tyson fight?
yes.
Tyson's 58 years old. You know what I mean? Jake fought a guy who was his age and was also considered a boxer, and he lost.
And Tyson? Well, let's not pretend White had sympathy for a legend selling out his name for an easy $20 million payday. The anger wasn't just about this one fight. For White, this was a warning. Boxing is being hijacked by influencers who think fake punches and stage drama equal skill. This wasn't a competition. It was a cheap stunt to sell tickets. And honestly, who can disagree? Tyson and Paul just put on a show, and not the kind anyone wanted to see.
So if you can keep fighting 50-something-year-olds
You don't think Tyson has a chance?
and making a living at it, I think that Mike Tyson has a puncher's chance against anybody.
Furious. This wasn't disappointment. It was outright betrayal. Some even called for Tyson and Paul to face legal consequences for what they saw as blatant false advertising. And honestly, can you blame them? When you pay to see a fight, you're expecting a fight, not a choreographed stunt designed to line the pockets of two opportunists. And let's be clear, Tyson and Paul aren't losing any sleep over this. For them, it's all about the money and the headlines. Integrity? Respect for the fans? Forget it. They're too busy swimming in their piles of cash to care about the mess they've left behind.